All right, we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you guys are having a good day, and hopefully you guys are having a good week. Um, we had some interesting price action happen over the course of last night into this morning. At least where I am. Some of you guys are probably in the later to early afternoon. Price started dumping here a little bit. I'm excited to go ahead and talk about today's analysis, give you guys some updates on what I'm looking for, what I'm thinking about. If you guys are, if you guys have any questions throughout the entirety of this session, whether regardless if you're here on the YouTube Twitch end or if you're here on the Discord with me, feel free to go ahead and ask me any questions you might have, whether it's in chat or if you want me to speak up. Just let me know, and I'll be more than answer the questions. And yeah, let's go ahead and get today's session started. So before we go ahead and actually dive into this, quote unquote smaller time frames is what I usually like to do. Um, what I like to do first is focus on the macro, talk about the larger perspective on what could be going on, what the possibilities are, and go ahead and once we get a better idea of what the macro is going to look like, we can go ahead and focus on those smaller term time frame. So in order for me to do so, usually what I like to do is I like to this is on Coinbase. I like to start off with a clean chart. Right. And from there, if you guys aren't familiar with me and my strategy, how I trade, I use something called the ABC method, which is a modified version of Elliott wave theory. The most important thing that we do in this strategy is we identify trends in groups of threes, whether it's to the upside, to the downside. And from there, once we identify an ABC, our goal is to trade the pivot of the A. If we're looking for one, if we are looking for a short position, we're waiting for price to get above the A. And once that wave is complete, we can go ahead and wait for the short once it gets back below. All right. And vice versa for the long positions. Once you get an A to a B, and the C gets below the pivot of the A, all right, wait for price to get back above, take the trade, maybe get a retest, and then look for higher. So that's the main concept of what ABCs are. Like I said, guys, if you have any questions throughout this entirety of or throughout this stream, please let me know. And yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. So on the macro perspective, what I am looking for and what I look for in the beginning is I like to start out with the largest trend available or the largest most recent trend. Excuse me, that's what I meant to say. And how I usually do that is I kind of just draw a line to separate what I'm looking for. So everything that end of the bull market began in the bear market here, we're going to look at everything from there on to now. So with that being said, question is there an ABC here? In my opinion, there is definitely one. And there is a nice set of subwaves in between each individual wave itself. So basically, what subwaves are is I like to see if each wave will form its own ABC. And you can see here it did. I like this as a more completed setup. Does this happen all the time? Not necessarily, but when it does, it's a good sign for me. It shows that this is a healthy correction. This is a healthy potential setup that's building, and definitely can look at this as a possibly completed downtrend. And that's, I guess, we'll start off with that perspective. There's a bullish side I have, there's a bearish side, and then there's kind of like an in between where it's a shorter to medium term bearish, longer term bullish idea. So the bullish idea is that we completed an ABC with an ABC within the C. We got back above the previous pivot, right? Which is that's what we need to actually confirm that we possibly have bottomed. And we are currently holding significantly above this region at the moment. So things are looking good. If things are going to be more bullish in the longer term, um, I would like to see something like this happen to where we'll talk about the smaller time frame, but working on some sort of B and then continue up higher for a C to where we just keep pumping. Um, that's pretty much it. If you are looking for the most bullish side of things, when it comes to that perspective, you're not looking for that much of a pullback. My personal opinion differs from this, which we can talk about next because that's the next option. Is my personal opinion. I honestly believe that this same ABC, which I mentioned before, is actually part of a larger set of an ABC that could possibly form. Now, when I talk about this concept, I'm going to do my best to clarify what this is before I dive a little bit more into this. So this is called, I don't really have a name for it, but basically what happens is, especially on smaller time frames, is when you have an ABC here, price will originally actually respect the setup and pull back, but you might find support in this region and then continue higher, right? And what ends up happening is your ABC that you originally drew might actually be part of a larger A. So if I get rid of this, you can see I'm left with a larger ABC. And that's something that does happen, like I said, on smaller time frames, usually more often, but it can occur on a macro. So if this A is a potential A to a B to a C, which you have here in the orange here, personally, I think this is the most bearish case scenario, but I think we definitely have a good, I wouldn't say, but we have a higher possibility of definitely going ahead and testing lower as a worst case scenario. Do I think we're going to go down and go to 10K or even below that? That's not really what I do. I mostly just look for the levels that price gives itself and look for the setups as they form. And to me, this is a potential setup that can form in the longer term. All right. I don't know exactly how fast this is going to happen if this is going to be the case, but for me, in my opinion, I personally think that this is the worst case scenario if price does put in a lower low, but there's a good side to this. All right. If we do put in a lower low and we immediately rebound and show signs of basically a rebound from there, that is going to be the ultimate bullish sign, in my opinion. Because as you can see, I do mention this every once in a while, but if you look at the previous bull market, this ended with an ABC. All right. If the bear market could do the same thing, that'll be amazing. If that doesn't show that ABC's work, I don't know what will. But I'm looking for something similar as a worst case scenario to where we eventually come back down, put in a lower low, maybe not to the extent that everyone's looking for 10K or lower, but maybe just a slight low to get people scared and immediately start rebounding from there. So that is a worst case scenario, but in the longer term, that's a much healthier position I would like to see Bitcoin be in. And then the middle of the road option is kind of similar to the bullish idea, but what it shows is that we have bottomed, right, off of this ABC. We are looking for a larger A to a B to a C, to where we pull back a decent amount, but we don't put in new lows. So price can go all the way back down and put in a double bottom. As long as it doesn't put in that new low, this is still an option. So it still calls for a larger term pullback, but at the end of the day, I still think that is a bullish option in a longer period of time, even though this might, or it could be part of a larger idea and unfortunately can lead to shorter term or shorter the medium term downside. So I don't know exactly where it's going to go. We can talk about that here shortly when it comes to breaking down the resistance and level support levels that we have. Because that's pretty much all I look for once we identify setups, once we trade setups. I look for where price can test what the levels look like when it comes to what's above on resistance and what's below in support. But that's pretty much it for BTC on the macro. So if I zoom in and focus on what is going on here, right, within this larger wave that I drew before, what I see is that we have an A to a B to a C, right, and that actually builds its own A. We have a nice, I would say, a decent pullback. It's not the healthiest pullback in my opinion. We kind of just came down, touched once, and rebounded, but that still is considered a nice separation in trend, which leads to a B wave, and then we have a nice extension to a C here. Now, If you are going to follow the rules on the larger setup, you should technically be entering around 25,302.5. All right. For me personally, what I do in this case scenario, price has significantly pumped past the pivot of the A. All right. And this is called playing into the C wave. So what I will do is if the C wave gets overly extended past the larger A, I will wait for an ABC to form within the C. So just like I mentioned, how sometimes each set of waves has its own individual set of subwaves, right? That's all I'm doing is I'm looking for a set of subwaves within the C wave. This is me just showing you an example of what it looks like. I can show you like actual price examples if you guys want me to. But at the moment, this is pretty much all I look for. Once price gets significantly past the pivot of the A to where that entry doesn't seem like the best option, I will look for an A to a B to a C within the C and short that or long it, depending on which direction I'm looking at. I'll take that position and basically I'm anticipating a much larger move. So that's what I like to do. It doesn't happen too often. But if it does, I will take that opportunity. In this case, this is a perfect example of playing into the C wave. So at the moment, I'm currently short off of 29,300. As long as we're below that, there is a decent amount of bearish pressure, in my opinion. And also taking into consideration the larger idea of what could be going on. This is a potential top for BTC. Regardless if we put in and come down, put in test larger supports, or eventually, if worst case scenario, if we do put in lower lows, I'm still holding this for a longer term period of time. All right. That's pretty much it for the bearish side of how I'm looking to play into this. All right. There is a bullish case and a bullish setup. So if you think we are going to go higher, I'm still will be looking for a ABC entry if you're looking to play into that. Right. We have a nice ABC pullback here. Go ahead and actually, let's go zoom in a little bit more just to show you guys. All right. So as long as price can maintain above 26,930 or 935, that is going to be a bullish pivot. As you can see, we're significantly below. If price continues significantly in the downwards direction, maybe I'll try playing into the C wave. But to be honest, I'm going to be more focused on this key level because this could be a larger downtrend that could be starting, or at least, a larger part of the downtrend could be forming at the moment. So I'm not going to be too key on playing every single little bullish ABC that pops up on BTC. In my opinion, I'm probably just going to stick to this 26,950 entry. But as you can see, we're decently below it. So I believe I might have gotten stopped out already. If not, I'm about to get stopped out. But I'm still holding a short, so shorts are looking good. But those are pretty much both sides of the coin, both scenarios that you can potentially play into. This is how you would be doing so. Like I said, we don't give financial advice on my channel nor in this channel. We just give you kind of a idea of how you could be playing certain things, how I do it. If you want to take those trades, you absolutely can. But that's pretty much it for BTC. We have our two Easy E. Does anybody else have issues hearing me? Can you guys hear me? I should be good on the audio. Okay, someone in Easy E's in general, he said he had an audio problem. It might be on something on your end, my friend. Just double check. But it seems like they can hear me. All right. So let's see. So going back to what I was saying before, is we have a setup for both directions. All right. I'm showing you guys the pivots that I'm taking my trades off of. Unfortunately, there's really no other opportunity besides these two trades. And we just got to wait and see at this point. I say that a lot, but trading is a game of patience, a game of waiting, a game of kind of allowing the setups and the opportunities to come to you, which is something I could touch on if you guys want me to. But for me, at the moment, I have my positions. I'm just waiting for them to play out. If you guys have any questions regarding my setups on BTC or anything in general, please let me know. I'm going to move on to ETH, but if you have a question regarding BTC, I will definitely go back and touch on that. So, same idea for Ethereum, which I feel like I should be talking about. Well, I am going to talk about the larger potential for Ethereum at the moment, because we do have it's playing out a little bit differently. But in my opinion, I think it's still kind of the same picture. Just it's might play out slightly different because of what is going on and how ETH has been developing. So same thing. We're going to be looking at the prior top at the beginning of the bear market, right? And in this case scenario, we have to ask ourselves, is this the beginning or the end of something? If this is going to be the beginning of something, right, we are looking at a larger potential A to a B, excuse me, and eventually come back down and look for a larger C. This is the worst case scenario for Ethereum at the moment. I know I drew my my pivots were a little bit off. But if we do put in a much larger downtrend, right, and we keep breaking supports on the way down, ultimately the most bullish case slash bearish case is going to be that we come back down and put in a lower low at 886. On the medium term, it is going to be bearish, but in my opinion, this is the best case scenario for Ethereum. If we put in a new low and we can reclaim that level and continue and put it in a much larger reversal, I'd be a lot more confident in Ethereum if that is the case. That is, like I said, the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is that we go ahead and actually have put in our bottom, right? And we are working on some sort of ABC for an A. We still probably most likely need to pull back, but maybe come down and test some areas of support. Oh, that's something I forgot. I always forget. Well, let me finish with ETH. I'm going to go back to BTC because I forgot to touch on something. So, all right. So we do have a bearish setup off of this ABC. For the medium case scenario, like I said before, we can be looking at a larger pullback. We're going to talk about the supports on the way down, which I forgot to do with BTC, but we'll go back and circle to that region or to that point again. But eventually we will test supports, form a nice support, and continue to the upside. That is the middle of the road option for me. Best case scenario, if you want to be extra bullish, is that maybe this is all we get as a pullback, and then we continue it to the upside. All right, I'm not the biggest fan of that one in my personal opinion, but it's definitely a viable option. All right, so I am currently short as long as we're below 2030. As long as we're below 2030 for me, that is going to be a good area to go ahead and maintain short off of, and I will continue to hold that short until price tells me otherwise, or at least price gives me an opportunity to get out. At the moment, that's not the case. So when we go to 2 hour. All right, I want to go over a variation or something that can play into the bullish idea. You are looking to be bullish. There is a decent setup on Ethereum for a long or buy position if you're trading spot. But if I am personally taking this, I am in this position. Like I mentioned before, we don't give financial advice on this channel. I'm just letting you guys know what I do. So if we are going to maintain above, if we can stay above 1779, that is going to be a good area of support, in my opinion. Maybe this is all we get as a retest, continue higher. That is a good option. But at the moment, there's really no other bullish position for Ethereum. Now, something I want to take a look at, it's pretty important, is we're going to be looking at local lows on the way down. So if you guys don't know what local lows or local highs are when it comes to support and resistances, is pretty much you're looking for, say if you find a trend. All right, something like that as an example. Pretty much if you're looking at this as one entire trend, all right, we need to look at what is the lows for support and then talk about what are the highs as resistance. Come on, work with me. All right. And that's pretty much the concept of finding, local areas of support resistance. That's something I look at once we get into a position and can figure out what the next possible areas that price can go ahead and test. So, keeping that in mind, then if we break 1779, the next local region of support, in my opinion, is going to be around that 1686. If we fail that, there's nothing really significant for me until about 1368. If we fail to maintain that, we keep continuing lower. The next step is going to be 1072. And then ultimately, like I said, if you're going to play into the worst case scenario, 876, 877 is going to be the absolute last level of support for Ethereum in this current uptrend. And also to the upside, we also got to take a look at some resistance levels. All right. So for Ethereum, I'm sorry, I don't know why I said it like that, but for Ethereum on the way up, as we're looking at resistance areas, 2030, then 2154, and pretty much there's nothing too significant until we get to about 3575. That's something to keep in mind as well, as if we are going to be bullish, all right, we need to take it level by level. And if we can break 2155 and continue significantly to the upside, the next logical reason for me to say that price can go ahead and test is around that 3575 region. But that's pretty much it. We got to take a level by level as we take our trades. Allow the market to give us those positions and then ride it out and see how much we can get out of it. And that is going to be it. Let me go back on BTC real quick and touch on the support levels on the way down. So something I want to touch on is, we do have that prior support at around 25,777. If that fails, we have a possible area of a support resistance flip. So in this case, it was resistance. We have a possibility of this becoming support. So we come back down and test 25,215. That is something I am looking for as a good area of support to go ahead and bounce off of. If we fail to maintain that, the next level of support, in my opinion, is going to be 19,560. There's nothing really significant in that region. Maybe you can make a claim for 23,892, but in my opinion, that's not too significant. And from there, maybe I think 20, what is this? I'm sorry. 16,185 is a decent one. And ultimately the lowest low, which is around 15,450. That's pretty much the support and resistance areas to keep an eye out for BTC and Ethereum. I showed you guys the setups I was taking, and I will continue to hold those trades as price develops. Let's take a look at LTC. All right, LTC is down a decent amount. So pretty much for LTC at the moment is we have two main scenarios. The first main scenario is that we're looking for an A to a B to a C. So where we break 106. As you can see, we're kind of still developing in this wave. So it's possible we could be dancing around sideways for a little bit until we go ahead and actually put in the higher high. The other case scenario is almost the same as this, but it's just a variation. All right, to where the B wave actually extends. All right, and we actually need to go ahead and put in a lower low past 6503 before coming back up and putting in that 106. So pretty much once you kind of get an idea of what to look for, the last really significant, or the only two significant setups, in my opinion, are going to be that 6503. If not, we put in a new high at 106.05. Those are the two main positions I'll be looking to take trades on. I really don't see anything significant in my opinion. Some people have mentioned this one in the past. In my opinion, I don't think that is the best trade, but that is considered a decent setup. But I just wasn't worth. I didn't think it was worth taking. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, I know a couple of you have been tuning in Discord as well as those on the YouTube end. If you guys are just tuning in, hello. Um, throughout today's session, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask at any moment or say hello. Let's see. LTC. Let's do ADA. ADA is pretty much the same as it has been for the last couple weeks. We do have a nice ABC short setup off of 42.18, which is a trade I am currently holding still. And we have some areas of support to test. In my opinion, there's nothing really too significant until we get to about 29.70. That's going to be next area of support, if not 23.92. You can maybe make a claim for about 33.60, but I'm just not seeing that as a significant area, in my opinion. That is a decent separation and trend, enough to show that that is a local level, but nothing too significant to actually take a trade off of or look for a decent bounce off of, in my opinion. So that's still pretty bearish. Anybody else have any other coins you want me to look at? I might throw in one more. Unless you guys have any other suggestions on what you want me to look at, please let me know. I'll do. Matic was on that. I was thinking about doing Matic, but I'll definitely do Matic. It was either I was stuck between Matic or XRP. Matic wins. So for Matic, on the larger term, right, there is a very nice ABC setup for a short entry here. As long as you're below $1.31, I would still be holding this. I don't really have a significant signal for me to go ahead and take profit. But maybe that'll come soon. I really don't see it happening at the moment just because I don't see a nice ABC forming. But that's a good trade. That's something that if you guys caught that entry, I would still be looking to hold on to that. On the larger scale, we have a possibility of doing something like this. I'm not the biggest fan of this because this would, that would be a 80% drop for another 80% dip from the top. I don't think that is viable as a reasonable higher probability setup, but it can happen. What I think is most likely going to happen is that we have bottomed, all right, off of that previous wick, and we're actually going to be forming something like this to where we do maybe end up pulling back a little bit more, maybe down to, I would say maybe 68 cents. I know I drew it down a little bit lower, but something right about there and maybe continuing up. That would be a better, more reasonable option for Matic. But that is the bearish case scenario, in my opinion. There's also a possible bullish side, which I'm going to talk about here. All right, so for Matic, a nice A to a B to a C. If Matic can get back above 94.17, that is going to be a good entry for a long setup. I will keep saying this, not financial advice, but we go ahead and I let you guys know what I think could be happening, what could be going on, and give you guys the trades that you can take in case you do want to play, the bullish side or the bearish side, depending on what I'm looking at. But in this case, for the bullish side, I really don't see anything significant until we get back above 94.20 or 94.17. So that's the one that sticks out to me the most. If I am going to be looking to take a trade on Matic, that would be the setup I would take. Let's Anybody else have anything you want me to look at? Or you guys have any questions? Let me take a sip of water while we do that. No problem, my friend. I hope it helps. Man, I don't know. I'm still stuffy. All right. If anybody else has any questions or any other coins want me to look at, which I think we covered enough, but if anybody wants another project or another coin, I will take a look at it. If not, we're going to move on to traditional markets. We have some exciting stuff to talk about when it comes, especially to the DXY.
After the DXY, I see that there is some popularity on a pair called Waves. If you have ever heard of it,
I have not heard of that.
it's one of the few coins which pretty much are today on positive. That's why.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that. Let's do the DXY real quick, and I'll go right back to it.
Thanks.
Let's see. Also, if you have time for gold, would be nice. Yes, I will cover gold and silver. That usually comes after like the DXY and SPY and stuff, but I will definitely touch on that. So for the DXY, a couple different things to consider. We do have a nice ABC for a long position. As you can see, we got a slight little wick, and it's been off to the races ever since. It kind of consolidated in this region for a little bit, but we are on the upside swing at the moment. The only thing to keep an eye out on and keep in mind is that if I go to a 2-day and I focus on what is going on here, this is a monstrous ABC setup. Right? This was going on, what is this form? 2008. So multi-decade setup that was been working in the process. So we do have that bearish pivot in the way. But when it comes to these bearish pivots, keep in mind that these levels, especially when we're looking at multi-year, multi-decade ABCs, is that price is not going to exactly respect it to the actual wick or to the exact level. Price is going to have room to kind of give it some interpretation of what it wants to do. Regardless, that's just an example. But price is going to dance around in that region. So I'm not expecting price or the DXY to exactly get rejected off of that pivot, but something to kind of keep in mind is that price will dance in this region before ultimately making a decision. But on the shorter term time frame scenario, it's respecting the ABC very well. We'll have to see how it behaves if it's going to keep pumping. Maybe we'll get up to that prior resistance at about 105. And then if it can break 105, that's when I'll be a little bit more bullish on the DXY. But that's pretty much it for the DXY. That's something to keep an eye on. I know there's an inverse correlation between the DXY and the just assets in general. It's Bitcoin, stock market. There's a lot of inverse correlation between the two. So just keep that in mind as you're doing your TA. All right. So what was it? Waves. Vlad, do you know what's the best exchange for that? Should I just do Binance?
Well, Binance should be fine.
All right. Let's see. So for Waves, ooh, look at that wick. Jeez. Okay. All right. So a couple things to keep in mind. We do have a nice bullish setup here. So it's back above that pivot, so it's doing decently well. If we can maintain above $1.80 or $1.80, what's that exact level? $1.80 79,032. If we can stay above that, that's going to be a good region to go ahead and continue possible bullish momentum. If we reject and if we fail, the next viable option I see for waves is that $1.25 region or $1.26 if you round up. But off of that lower low that we got. All right. So that would be part of a larger potential setup when it comes to looking at things from a macro perspective. I would see this and consider this a larger A to a B to a C scenario. That would be the next level I would look to test if waves cannot maintain above that previous setup that we talked about at $1.80. That's pretty much it. For resistance levels above us, you have about $2.39 is a good resistance area, as well as $3.38 is a good resistance. There's some ones above that, but at the moment, those are the main ones to consider as of now. Another potential idea what could be going on if we are going to be a little bit more bullish in the shorter term. Something to keep in mind is that if we do continue to keep pumping, we do have a possible A to a B to a C scenario where we get a retest up to the previous high at about 341, which we mentioned before. All right. And then we can get a rejection off of that if we do get back below. Something like that is definitely possible. But that's pretty much it at the moment. Definitely some decent opportunities there. All right, let's go to SPY. Okay. All right. So the SPY actually completed a larger ABC within a B. Let me explain. So we have an ABC here. This could be part of a larger A to a B to a C scenario as a worst case scenario for the SPY itself. In my opinion, this is definitely a higher probability setup now that we actually got an A to a B to a C, right? And within the C wave, we have an ABC. So going back to what I was saying before about playing into the C wave, we completed that setup. We got back below, we rejected, and we're now reacting off of that. So the worst case scenario for the SPY is that we come back down and put in a lower low past 347. Middle of the road option, if we have bottomed here, this is going to be part of a larger A to a B to where we come down, test some supports, continue higher. Those are pretty much the main scenarios I have for the SPY at the moment. All right. Let's do gold and silver. All right. So gold got rejected right before the 2074, which is the previous all-time high. All right. So we're kind of dancing around in this range. If we can maintain below 1960, which is part of this ABC here, that would be more of a bearish confirmation for me. And I think we could definitely continue lower. But you can see we're kind of finding support bouncing off that region. Possibly a good sign for gold. But if we significantly reject, I think there's a lot of pressure to the downside, in my opinion. First level, I'll look for support around 1804. If that fails, the only thing significant I see is 1617. If we can find support and continue upward, 2074 is going to be the next region. That would be part of a much larger ABC. But remember, just keep in mind, as price is developing these larger ABCs, just know that these levels are not going to be exact. There's probably going to be some wiggle room, so price can definitely get decently above and still reject above 2074 if that is going to be the case, if we do get up there. That's pretty much it for gold. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, yeah, we're still here. All right, cool. So for silver, pretty much what all I'm looking for is a continuation down. You can see we got an ABC. We rejected below. We're sustaining below that pivot at around 24.61 at the moment. So as long as we can stay below that, I think there's definitely a possible chance that we continue lower for silver. Some supports to keep an eye on the way down is going to be 1990. And then if we fail that, ultimately 1756, which can put in a much larger setup, something like this. Something like that. Pretty much all I have for silver. Let's do. I know Vlad wants to take a look at his BMW.
Thanks.
So, so BMW's kind of been bouncing around this region, right? 184. Actually, technically, it's going to be around 172. 172 is the pivot that I would look to stay under if we are going to be bearish. If we look on a larger scale, the next area of resistance, which you can see we got retested, got rejected on, so that 104.78. So definitely a nice little pocket of resistance in this area. So if we can reject, that's definitely a possible continuation lower off of this ABC. But if we continue to the upside, the next level to go ahead and test, in my opinion, is going to be 124, which is going to be the previous all-time high, I believe. Yes, and that could form an even larger ABC here. All right, and those are the main levels I see for BMW. If you guys want me to take a look at anything else traditional market wise, please let me know. Or if you guys have any questions, please feel free to let me know as well.
Johnny,
What's up?
have you seen CZ's president, the owner of Binance, most recent tweet?
No, I did not. I could pull it up
Sure.
real quick.
I'll let you read the news, and also if it's possible to also put it on the share screen as well. And I do have like a question or two.
All right, so CZ, the one that he posted 2 hours ago or 8 hours ago?
Positive. 2 hours. CCTV.
CCTV. All right, here, let me change my screen so you guys can see. Sorry, guys, you're gonna see me for a second. Window. All right, and then do. All right, so let's see. CCTV. Can you guys see that before I read it? You guys should be able to see that.
Yes, we can. We can.
All right, so CCTV, China Central Television, just broadcasted crypto. It's a big deal. Chinese speaking communities are buzzing. Historically, coverages like this leads to bull runs. Not saying past predicts the future, not financial advice. That is very interesting.
And that the link is just the material, which is all Chinese. So I don't know if you speak Chinese. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, I don't.
Me either.
All right. So I think the reason why China does this is because they're the antagonist to the US. So if the US is going to be a little bit more, let's say, stingent on crypto or anti-crypto, China is going to be the opposite. China is going to promote it more. This could be an indication that maybe the US is going to start cracking down or potentially be more anti-crypto at the moment. But definitely something to consider. Now, do I think, me personally, I don't think this does have a potential part of what could happen, but ultimately, as much as people hate to hear this, um, BTC is still correlated to most markets. BTC is still correlated to um, how the SPY reacts, how the US market reacts. So, my opinion, I think this can play a potential, but I don't think it's going to ultimately change the sentiment that I think is going to happen. Um, if anything, it's always buy the rumor, sell the news kind of thing. If China might think this is the big deal, maybe there's something going on in the background we don't know about. Maybe people, because you also got to think, in order for big players, big whales to move their positions, they need people to buy into them. They can't just liquidate. They need buyers. So if people are buying in, this is an opportunity for big money, big whales to sell out of their positions, because obviously more retail traders are going to be able to pick up the liquidity. Um, so for me, could this be a bullish play? Yes, but I'm gonna be leaning more to the other side, that maybe this is a signal or an idea that maybe people or big players are trying to get out, and this is how they do so. That's just my opinion.
Are you going to be more bullish since you heard this news? Like, let's say you had some bearish and bullish scenario. Are you going to consider more the bullish one since of now?
Because of the tweet or just in general?
Because of also the tweet and the news itself, that this is the first time that crypto has been featured on the Chinese television. This is the very first time, like, they didn't have news or something like that. This is like the first ever.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely possible. Am I going to switch my bias? I don't think I am, but I definitely can say that this could be a good argument for the upside. Like I talked about in for BTC, there's a couple different levels of resistance on the way up. If there is money being flowed into the market and this does push price up, I definitely think if we can break 32K, the next step is 48. That is a absolutely viable case scenario. So if this is going to pump, I don't think it's going to put in new all-time highs, but I definitely think we can retest certain levels of resistance. So it definitely could be a bullish thing. Absolutely. I can't deny that this is a possible factor.
Awesome. Thanks.
No problem. While I have you guys here, go ahead and check out my YouTube channel. All right, where I stream 3 times a week, going over stuff we talked about today. If you guys are interested in learning more from me, I would greatly appreciate it. As well as if you guys are not aware, so what I've been doing is, if you guys have followed the channel for a little bit, you can see I posted a pre-recorded video. Um, this is part of a new channel that my friend and I, Kite Crypto, which you guys should know. If you guys don't know, go check them out. But we're starting our own channel called Beyond the Wicks, where it's mostly going to be primarily pre-recorded content, talking about trading philosophy, trading strategies, and kind of give you guys a more ideal, an ideal perspective, or more not ideal, a more realistic perspective of what trading is. So I put out a video. My friend Austin put out his 2 videos. I'm working on one. I'll probably be finishing that up today. But this is mostly going to be pre-recorded stuff. Eventually, we'll branch out into other things. But if you guys want to check out that, I would greatly appreciate it. So yeah, but guys, feel free to subscribe to both channels if you haven't. Would love to see you guys there if you are going to come from David Tech's channel. Hopefully, you guys learned something new today. I really do appreciate you guys coming by today. And I will be here the same time next week, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 UK. So if you guys want to tune into next week's stream, I really would appreciate it. But until then, guys, be good, trade safe. I appreciate it. And thank you, Vlad, for hosting today's stream. And thank you, David, as always, for giving me a platform. I'm here. I really do appreciate it, and I love being a part of this community.
No problem. Thank you, Junior, for being here. Thank you, everybody else, for attending. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye, everyone.